All right, so while we're on the subject of nutrition, we're going to talk about some foods that we have. And these are, let me see if we have, so this is made on a dehydrator. Everything's organic, okay?
Okay, that
and
sounds pretty good.
This is basically a pineapple type treat, and I'm not 100% sure, but I know there's no grains in it. But these are made from carrot pulp, pineapple, almond, chia, and flax seeds. Again,
that looks pretty
everything's
good.
organic. And this is sweeter because of all the pineapple, but again, there's no grain in it. It's,
Well, can I try one?
yeah, please, go ahead.
These look wonderful.
So that's the one with, you see that's the one with the carrot pulp.
God,
Yeah.
this is great.
Okay, good. So I brought these for you. I thought you'd,
Well, I'll eat them. They're wonderful.
because, you know, me, as far as I was so strict about what I ate for my first 2 years after
Yeah.
I'd made up my mind that I was not going out on permanent disability. I basically didn't eat out in restaurants. Even when I was on the orchestra tour, I made all my own food in 5-star hotels with, you know, my burner and backpacking pots. I was so strict about what I ate. So
Now, how did you have the insight to do that right away?
it was a lot of things. Basically, what was probably the most powerful thing was I had gone on a backpacking trip years earlier, and it was in Shenandoah National Park, and there was a sign, and it said, "Do not feed the deer. When you feed a deer human food such as chips and candy, you reduce its lifespan by 30%. So
That's pretty telling.
yeah, my mindset at that point was, you know, what does a deer eat? A deer eats leafy vegetables,
Yep.
right?
Yep, absolutely.
You know, it drinks only water, and there's probably a lot of insects in there too.
In there,
for,
yep,
for
probably.
the protein source. So, you know, and you know, I actually, you wouldn't like this, but I actually was on a deer hunting trip in the early 1980s when I lived in Virginia. And I was there and I helped butcher a deer, and you see the makeup of a deer, this wild animal, and it doesn't look anything like the meat that you see at the supermarket, because it's, you know, once you cut the hide, there's a very thin layer of fat, and then the meat is,
Solid.
it's solid. There's no fat in the meat, and you look at the meat you buy in the supermarket, the way it's all marbleized with, you know, all this fat, and it's very unnatural.
No, that's exactly true. All those animals have metabolic syndrome, a pre-diabetes. They're also highly stressed, so the cortisol levels are high, hormonally disrupted. And particularly a conventionally grown animal is fed a lot of glyphosate or Roundup in the food, which alters the microbiome in unhealthy ways. And farmers have known for a long time, if you give animals antibiotics in their feed, it accelerates weight gain and adds this fat marbling into the meat, making this metabolic syndrome pre-diabetes thing. So the conventionally grown animals, very unhealthy for us. Really quite lovely.
Good. I'm glad you like these. So I'm very big on
Yeah.
dehydrating, and part of what I do is, you know, I like to know where my food comes from. And about 35 minutes away from where I live, there are two of my favorite organic farmers, Dan and Lynn of Dan and Lynn Farms in Pedricktown and New Jersey. So they come to our local farmers market, and I remember one day asking them, I was there at the end of the day, they were packing up all their organic produce that didn't sell, and I said, what do you do with all the stuff that doesn't sell? And they said, oh, we throw it back on the field. I said, are you serious? They said, yeah, well, what are we going to do with it? I said, you have a phone? You call me. So at that point, I got 3 big dehydrators, and you know,
Wow.
we get all this produce and cut it up and run these dehydrators around the clock. And whether it's you're getting August tomatoes in February, or
Yeah.
all this wonderful organic produce.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, and I've been to their farms, so I firsthand I can see. I'm comfortable knowing the food source. I
Yeah.
think that's very important.
And clearly you've learned how to make some pretty yummy snacks then, just taking the dehydrated nuts and seeds and vegetable pulps
Right. That's
and making them into these lovely cookies.
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention. When you're on the orchestra tour and you're in, the countries where you really are suspect about the source, such as China, you don't really want to be eating the I know they have serious issues in all the
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be eating Chinese food.
all the farmland. Well, it's grown right in toxic dumping grounds and heavy metal toxicity, you name it. And I know their rice supply is very, very. It's very threatened by what they do. So.
And the rates of autism exploding in China.